So do you guys remember the Wii Spa incident? Extensively covered by WYSIWYG TV, J. Lee Quinn, and the late but great Villain Report, all three of which I have interviewed on this channel. They were present when a spa in LA had widespread protests that eventually turned violent. Well, turned violent on one side, for sure. Well, in case you forgot, let's take a quick look. Just a little trip down memory lane. The Wii Spa was an incident wherein a pre-op trans person exposed themselves in a nude Korean spa. For those of you who are not familiar with that, generally they are separated by gender because you are supposed to be nude. And that means that both women and children were present. This is the controversy that exploded.
Wii Spa, so you don't, so it's okay. I just want to be clear with you. It's okay for a man to go into the women's section, show his penis around the other women, young little girls underage. Your spa, Wii Spa, condone that. Is that what you're saying? Like I asked. It's so he could stay there. He could stay there. What sexual orientation? I see a dick. It lets me know he's a man. He's a man. He is a man. He is not no female. He is not a female. He is not a female. Hold on. He is.
In addition to the extensive coverage by people on the ground, I also want to credit Mary Todd, friend of the channel, who does excellent work in investigating Antifa. But on day one, it was just peaceful protesters who were mostly like soccer moms with cardboard signs like they were at a PTA meeting or something, journalists, and some street preachers.
Keep walking.
Just an idea.
Get his shit.
Some more highlights of Just an Idea.
Peaceful protest, back!
Or, of course, this one, which was a fantastic forensic breakdown by Mary Todd. So just think about that when the next time an idiot like Cenk Uygur just suggests that it's not a big deal to get hit in the head with a skateboard. But I digress. The Wii Spa situation was also a classic example of the Antifa types and their ability to deliver misinformation. But the constant argument was that the whole thing was supposedly a hoax, that it never took place, that there was never a pre-op trans person who exposed themselves with the Wii Spa. Unfortunately for them, eventually the truth came out, and in fact, not only was there a pre-op trans person at the Wii Spa exposing themselves to women and children, they were also a sex offender. And in typical fashion when it comes to the way that the alt-left works when it comes to things like this, initially they just deny it and suggest that nobody supports it. Then they moved on to saying, well, maybe some people support it, but it's still not happening. And then eventually to, well, where we are now, which is not only is it happening, it should be happening. And if you look back on my channel and all the coverage I've done, I've got like Twitter conversations where that exact whole like thing is going on. That entire sequence of denial to, yeah, we actually agreed with it the whole time. Well, here we go again. The thing that is supposedly never going to happen. A trans person who is pre-op is never going to at any point try to insist that they'd be admitted to a space set aside for nude women or nude girls, as the case may be. This trans individual launched a lawsuit to complain and try to force compliance from a similar spa in Olympus. There was an interesting bit of controversy about this because initially the trans person suggested that they were denied entry at the door, and then it turns out that they had lied, that it actually had happened on a phone call. They had called up and asked about the policy, and they didn't like what they heard. The Linwood Times got an exclusive interview with the lawyer for the spa, who's still trying to fight this.
Our clients are traditional Korean spa. They are Christian, and their clientele are all women, always have been. And part of the process in coming to the spa is nudity. It's not optional nudity. It's not you have a towel around you nudity. It is a bona fide requirement. And our clients believe in modesty. They do not believe, as between the sexes, that women and men should be naked amongst each other. Haven Wilvich had gender reassignment surgery less than 2 months after filing this complaint to the Human Rights Commission that entry had been denied. Haven said that the owner of the spa said thus and such to them. And that's not true. We went back to the Human Rights Commission and said, look, this person never came into the spa. They never talked with the owner. None of this ever happened. And instead of the Human Rights Commission investigating further, and that's what they're to do, is investigate complaints, specific complaints. They said, and I quote, the time for you to ensure that Haven Wilvich does not feel discriminated against has passed. You must change your website language from biological women to women. This is just a license for individuals who are mentally ill to come in and take advantage of a situation where women are vulnerable. It also boils down to an essential taking by the government of these people's business.
This activist now claims he is a she, has the surgery. Is that not enough?
I know. That person could come in now because no one would know the difference. If you present in the nude as a female, you're allowed entry. And that has always been their position. They don't know what has gone on, and they're not going to pry into people's, surgery histories. If you present in the nude as a female, you are allowed entry to this spa. That should be sufficient. But a person who is 2 months away from gender reassignment surgery, who complains and tries to ruin and destroy this business, that's harmful, if not a malignant intent.
Washington State's requiring now this business to admit, trans women.
Personally, I don't really have a problem with it.
What are your thoughts on this as a customer?
Women are women, trans women are women.
There are underage women in there, though, 13 years old, who would have to be subjected to someone walking around with a penis.
Penises are part of the body. It's who we are.
What if the owner is not okay with it?
I have no problem either. It's their business. They can decide what they want to do. It's a private business.
Would you keep coming?
Yes.
Either way?
Either way.
So what this brings to mind to me is an older video that I did with basically one of my favorite clips of my old friend Villain Report before he passed away, having a logical argument with an Antifa protester who was present at the Wii Spa. One of the biggest problems that we have here is that the women that were being interviewed that you saw on Twitter all seem to at least claim that they would be comfortable with it. But the way that things are going, if you are not comfortable with it, then you're being told that that's on you. You don't want a penis around you or your underage daughter, that's on you. There's something wrong with you if that's the case. Let's have a listen.
I'm not attacking you. I'm not hurting you. I'm asking you a question. Are you here because you believe in trans rights and women's rights? Not anything else. Those two specific things. It's a yes or no.
Because I believe this
Yes or no question. Honey,
They're not here for the right reasons.
I don't.
Given the right to live how they want to have dignity and respect, I think that women have the right to their
As a female,
their feelings.
I identify as both female and trans, and I'm non-binary.
Wait, what did she just say?
As a female, I identify as both female and trans, and I'm non-binary.
How the hell do you identify as both female and trans and non-binary? No, seriously, how can you be all three of those things? Because if she identifies as a female, and she's clearly biologically female, and she somehow identifies as trans and is non-binary? Like, what the fuck?
I have the right to be in spaces where I feel safe. If a trans woman needs to be in a woman's space to be safe, that is her right.
Many
That is her right.
biological women don't feel
I am a biological pussy having.
So, getting back to the point here, what she just said is, as a trans person, she has a right to feel safe. If she has to go to a female space to feel safe, then that is her right, somehow. And as Villain points out, many females don't feel safe around penises. So what does she go on to say about that?
Person, okay? I have a uterus.
Women don't feel safe with male genitalia in their private space.
So predictably, there's been protests outside of the spa because of this. But I'm going to stay on top of it and I'll see what happens. No violence that I'm aware of so far. But at the end of the day, they didn't need any because apparently a judge ordered them to just simply allow a pre-op trans person, if they so desire, to enter the space set aside for nude women and young girls. Again, the thing that before the Wii Spa, we were told was a preposterous right-wing fear-mongering conspiracy theory, and that no such thing would ever happen and that nobody ever desired it. I'll stay on top of this story. Thanks for tuning in. And be sure to check out all of the other streamers that I suggested today, WYSIWYG, Jaylee Quinn, and Mary Todd, and Villain Report. I will link their channels in the description. But anybody who tells you that Antifa doesn't exist is obviously smoking crack or just spreading lies. Usually the second option. However, again, I really have to come back to this. This is one of the reasons why there's a division between the LGB and the T and the Q. As was pointed out by Leah Keith when I interviewed her, longtime feminist. There are things that the gay community does not want anything to do with, and this is one of them. So keep that in mind when you're discussing the LGBTQ whatever community, that they're not a monolith. Gays Against Groomers proves this. Trans Against Groomers proves this. There are people who have better sense in mind, better understanding of everybody's individual rights. It's just astonishing to me that we went from almost immediately from the Me Too movement that, even making a woman uncomfortable was sexual harassment, even if you didn't intend to suddenly now, if a person decides that they are, female, and just walks around in front of you with a penis, that you're just supposed to be comfortable with that. And if you're not, well, then you're an evil person. And if you are uncomfortable with it, that's on you. That's your problem. Thanks for listening. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Once again, check out hy.page/vradio. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you click like on this video. Today, I'm going to be doing a stream where we are going to watch the congressional hearing about transgender affirming care and whether or not it should be funded by the government. Coming up on Sunday, I'll be doing another co-show with Liberty Unleashed. We will be discussing for Father's Day the issue of the way that the courts mistreat fathers in the family court. I have a lot of personal experience with this. We'll be calling on that along with some studies, so please make sure that you tune in. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to Liberty Unleashed, he's a right-leaning libertarian who I've been doing podcasts with since 2008. I guarantee that you will like his content. Thanks again very much for tuning in, guys. I'm going to eat some lunch, and then I'm going to go live.